Thanks everybody for being here. So as Adam said, my name is Liza Schwartzwald, Director of Economic Justice and Family Empowerment at the New York Immigration Coalition. So the NYIC is an umbrella organization. We have over 200 members and partners across New York State who mostly provide direct services to immigrant communities all across the state. So immigrants contribute about over $23 billion to New York's tax system and economy every year, but often they're left out of a lot of the benefits that we have. And the NYIC's power is really in our members, right? Our priorities are set by our members. They're the ones who tell us what to do and what to fight for. And unsurprisingly, financial security is a huge concern for them. Now, in New York, we're facing a major affordability crisis. And that's something that's deeply affected both our immigrant and our native New York communities. A recent report in New York City showed that a full 50% of parents in New York City do not meet the true cost of living. And that number is a staggering 80% for single parents. So, when we were looking for, the next fight, the next NYIC fight, what we said was, that's the fight, right? That's why we're here. So we really started this campaign kind of late, right? It was December of 2022. And that meant we really had to hit the ground running. So New York State's budget season really runs from January until April. So we had less than 4 months to get together a whole campaign, really figure out what we wanted to do and win the fight to expand our tax credits and get our newer working families tax credit, which really is just our earned income tax credit and our child tax credit mushed together into like a bigger, better credit. What had happened was, in prior years, a lot of child poverty groups had been working on the CTC expansion. People were really concerned about it, but it wasn't really going anywhere. Primarily because there wasn't enough organizing happening. There weren't enough people on the ground. And that's really where the NYIC came in. I got a call from Rebecca. They said, we need some organizing around this. And we said, fantastic, we're ready. So we then began to go ahead and pull our partners together across the state. So we had tons of calls. We had member calls, we had partner calls, we had briefings, we did outreach, really just letting people know that this needed to happen, that the possibility was there, and to do a lot of educating and bring people in. So our first year, the priority piece of the tax credit was, of course, the ridiculous exclusion that Adam mentioned, which was that our kids under 4 were just not included. It was like you didn't have a kid until the kid turned 4, in which case you started getting the child tax credit, which is particularly interesting given that our governor really liked to talk about how hard it was for her when she had a baby, how hard it was for her to pay for diapers and for formula, and we were like, okay, and no child tax credit for children under 4? So we said, okay, that's the piece we're going to focus on, this year. And so we really went after child poverty advocates. We went after parents, students, some of the unions that were, related to the work that we were doing, and we got them all involved in the fight. And I think our framing also came together really well. We wanted a slogan that really leaned into the contributions that families make into the system. And we were really proud to come up with our Working Families Deserve the Credit framing that I think we're now using nationally as well, because it really reflected our belief that tax credits have already been earned by our families. And it really affirmatively counteracts this negative framing that people sometimes have around tax credits and guaranteed income, that these are giveaways. They're not giveaways. Our families have put in their money, they've put in their time and their labor and their effort, they deserve their credits. And that's really what we focused on. So we really needed to do a lot of education and a lot of press, because this was a newer campaign that really didn't have long-term support that many of the other campaigns we've worked on have had. So explaining to communities what the benefits are of tax credits. What does this actually mean to you? This is cash in your pocket, right? This is, you did your work, you filed your taxes, you did all the things you're supposed to do. This is what you deserve back from our government. We did a ton of press conferences and rallies throughout both New York City and Albany, the capital, to really keep the drumbeat of the campaign going. Really, every few weeks we had something, a social media day of action, a presser, a rally. We did a resolution in City Hall with some of our our council members to show support for this. We did a great parent op-ed. Our wonderful parent Candace wrote this wonderful op-ed alongside us, and she was a single parent with 3 kids who was just busting her butt. She's a manager at Wendy's, and she just felt so strongly about this, and she said, no, put my name on this, I want to fight with you. And those are the parents that really showed up for us as well. Those stories, telling parents individual stories, really making this a human issue, critical to winning really anything, but especially something like a tax credit, which, I think we all know is kind of not the sexiest sounding thing, in the beginning, but people like money, right? People like cash, people like to be recognized. We also really benefited from just an absolute bulldog of an elected champion. Senator Gennardis, who is our champion in the Senate, was really willing to go to the mat for this. He made this his top priority, which meant that we could do a lot of the leading on the external pieces, and we could really rely on him to some extent to do a lot of that internal advocacy, to talk to his Senate champions, the Assembly member Hevesi, to talk to his champions and friends on the Assembly side to do more of that inside game. So we really got to do a lot of inside-outside action. And of course, the support that Economic Security Project provided was invaluable. Our state lead, Rebecca Balin, who is back there, was working alongside us the whole time to plan out these wonderful events and to really make sure that we had the research backing, the design, the organizing support that we needed so that we could pull it all together and connect it to this larger messaging, to the larger national movement that I think we're all seeing and that ESP is leading on. So of course I am thrilled to say that we did win the biggest piece of that campaign last year. This year, when parents file for their taxes, nearly 1 million more kids are going to be covered. So that was almost $200 million that we got in the budget for New Yorkers this year. And notably, at least for the NYIC, and I hope for all of you as well, New York State's child tax credit actually does include individual tax identification filers or ITIN filers, which means that it is inclusive of all of our immigrants who pay their taxes and reside in New York. So that was really important. Going to keep building out on that victory this year. Thanks to the work we did last year, actually, one of the NYIC's top state priority campaigns this year is the Working Families Tax Credit. So what that meant is all of our 200 members went out and voted, and they'd never voted on the tax credit before. And this year, with just that little bit of time, they all said, we want this one on there. So it's actually our number 2 priority, which is massive for the NYIC. It brings a lot of our organizing capacity. So we're looking forward to running, a really big new campaign to get our ITIN filers into the ITC, to get rid of caps on how many kids you can have, as if, if you have 4 kids, the last one doesn't count, and to make sure that all of New York's families and parents are really recognized and get access to the child tax credit, and our immigrant families get access to the earned income tax credit. So we are geared up, we're ready to educate, we're ready to expand further, and we're ready to join all of you in the process. So thanks so much.